if we kind of zoom out to look at the little bigger picture, what have made them so mobile? I mean, I suppose they need to share certain knowledge, use certain language, or at least they more or less agree on the basic principles. I mean, did you see such a kind of course, we know there is a formal global system of humanitarian, I mean, refugee settlement by UNHCR, etc. But do you also see at the lower level among the practitioners, now we also see certain kind of a global system operation which enables such a highly mobile workforce to be the foot soldier of this global system of refugee settlement?
Yes, there was very much a standardized discourse and a standardized way of thinking about the processing of people, which is, as an anthropologist, something that I had to learn and had to sort of understand a lot of these terminologies and ways of thinking about assessing people in this kind of way, which is why I found it such a stark jostling of these two industry sectors around the assessment of phosphate with the assessment of humans, and how people could almost kind of abstract and distance themselves through a lot of the language that was being used around refugee status determination, or referring to people as clients, or referring to them as just by boat numbers. And so, and then at the same time as refugee status determination and also resettlement has become such an institutionalized industry, you see how there's been a real standardization with ways in which people work and people carry out various aspects of assessment and the management of people afterwards through particular logistical ways of doing things and the documentation that they're using and how they're assessing people almost in the same way that phosphate is being assessed on a commodity determination line. So
I'm very interested that you use the word logistical way of operation. Do you mean it is a way of operation that will maximize the smooth flow of paperwork and the process, and paying less attention to the subject, the people who are in this process? Is it what I mean by logistical mode?
Yes, and that's something that happened as there was increasing controversy around Nauru and a big activist push from Australia to end this system of offshoring of asylum. There was a real drive to process and determine as many people's asylum claims as possible and to decide whether or not they would receive refugee status. And so there was this real move to be as quick as possible. And I think that's what I'm thinking about when it comes to this sort of logistical process and this flow of movement.
That's very interesting. So the mobility of people actually, I mean, understandably is associated with the standardization of the procedure making. And yet, as you mentioned, actually is also associated with a certain kind of a moral abstraction, right? Now you have to have kind of very general abstract principle to as a common ground in order for people to become so mobile and etc. Right? But then we should think, what does this moral abstraction mean in reality?